Okay, now let's hop into it.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so thinking where to start from here. Um, I want to talk about boundaries. And
Okay.
what it is that I want to do is I want to highlight individuals as they go through their transformation and evolution of themselves. Uh,
Hmm.
we're first focusing on natural athletes within the realm of natural bodybuilding. And then from there, we'll be able to branch out into different sports, different fields of profession, various degrees of expertise and things of that nature. But I want to put a core focus on the value of therapy and coaching. So the question I wanted to ask you is, what are the boundaries so far as I want to record conversations, you know? And I know that that's like a sensitive thing within the realm of this practice, and I wanted to get your insight on that.
So the main piece of that is client's comfort about it.
Okay.
If the client consents
Okay.
to being recorded, then it's fine.
Great.
The issue kind of comes in is when they don't consent.
Okay. Well, yeah, we wouldn't want to do that anyway.
Yeah, so usually what I do is I do basically like a form that they would sign off on that said that they agree to have the sessions recorded.
Okay. Perfect.
And then the specifics to what it's being used for.
Okay.
So essentially, they have to just agree to speak about themselves.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And yeah, that would be completely up to them. So,
Yeah, and then you would do basically do like an NDA to say like, oh no, like you can't sue afterwards once you agree.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Got it. That works for me. All right. So I want to touch in a little bit about I'd like to do kind of a practice run to see, because I know that your dissertation was on generational trauma, which is
Hmm.
exactly what I'm looking to address over the past couple of weeks to months as I've become more aware of the structures that have been set in place within our American society that are designed to keep a certain people oppressed
Hmm.
outside of an ability to move into a higher level of socioeconomic class, you know?
Hmm.
So I've become aware of that over the past couple of weeks to months, and I'm seeing for the first time ever, I'm sure you've heard the whole argument nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
I'm 100% convinced it's nurture. Nurture
Hmm.
has the greater effect on how a person is going to end up in this world.
Hmm.
And understanding that now, hallelujah, because now we can address it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing I'll say when working with me, I go very, very, very big picture and I work backwards from that idealized vision. I see it clearly, and then it's like, okay, what steps need to occur between now and then in order for that vision to come true? So, what I would like to play around with you is ideas on how we could properly address the fact that it's not the child's fault that bad things are happening to them, and it's the environment that the parents also grew up in, and that environment isn't changing. So any ideas?
Yes. So typically, where I usually start with everybody is with it's called a genogram, a family genogram. And this, what it does is it start with your client at the bottom, and then it goes three generations. So their parents' parents, or their parents and their parents' parents. And then I get details. By the time you put all the details on each of the generation, you're going to see what the pattern is. And you're going to see almost for sure that whatever the family is dealt with,
Hmm.
that specific client is dealing with the same thing.
Interesting. Interesting.
So I'll say, like, what is the problem initially that you want to work on, even before getting to the genogram? And it could be something very surface level, like I want to be more confident in myself, or I want to be able to see myself differently.
Mhm.
After I do that genogram, I'll ask, is this goal still a goal of yours? And they'll say, absolutely not. That's not even the goal. I want to work on this. But it's putting the vision in front of them that this is actually what you're dealing with. This is what you think that it is, but because you've never actually looked at the pattern in your family, you've never known because it wasn't exposed to you because
Right.
nobody talks about it.
Right, right. And I'm 100% right there with you. And to me, this is exactly why therapy needs to be more open, which is exactly why I want to record
And I'm
future.
going to tell you why it's not. For the same reason that my research doesn't get out there. It's funny, I was just talking about this yesterday or Sunday. The research that I've done is great for professionals and helping us work with people in general. It never ever quite reaches the people that it's intended to.
Mm,
And the reason why it doesn't is because it's not seen as significant because they're not aware of it. So I created a whole program to assist in stopping generational trauma. But if your concern is, when am I going to get my next check to be able to feed my kids? You're not concerned about how this research impacts you. However, the research could be put you in a position for you to see something differently so you could actually have a different type of revenue. But it's not perceived like that. I think there's been like a learned helplessness,
yeah,
where things have just been kind of given or a way of life that we just get used to where we only focus on particular things and we don't open up the scope to see something else.
yeah.
So it's really disheartening that because historically, especially for people of color, there's been so many tests on them from, just syphilis, how people were given syphilis, or black men were given syphilis and not treated. They were test subjects to where it's so not, there's just such a lack of trust in helping professionals that anytime you come around with something, it's like, nah, I'm about to, put my family in a position to be taken advantage of, you know?
Mhm,
So I try to do a lot of stuff in the community for free, much of the time,
mhm,
just to give that type of exposure, to give that type of, hey, there's another way. But my research, it's not going to move where I feel like it's intended to move
mhm.
unless there's an interest or somebody that really desires to do something different, which could be a conflict.
I mean, I'm definitely interested. Um, I see the work that needs to get done, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. But I think if we use entertainment, like really, really high value
Uh-huh.
entertainment, that can be a huge step forward in raising awareness and having people's perception change around this topic and subject. Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, and it's so intertwined in the inner workings of so many things. Like when I started, I had to do this project when I was in my master's program, and it had to do with development, just how people develop. And
Mhm,
you had to interview people that knew you at each developmental milestone. And what I realized was that certain parts of me never changed. Certain parts of me have been there from the time that I was born. Like, I am extremely independent, always been. But then there's the other pieces of like, well, yeah, this is an issue for me, but I also realized in my interviews with the people that knew me, it was also an issue for them. And then it was also an issue for them. So when you start stepping outside of the norm of your family, it also is an isolation period that we don't talk about because you're no longer in the cycle of the maladaptive coping or whatever that thing was, and now you no longer have a relation to the problem, and you're now in a different space from who your family is, and you're like, well, dang, I want to belong, but I also know there's a different way, and that also can be very depressing. It can create a lot of anxiety.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, no, it's there's like a lot of different things to attack, and it always goes back to the childhood, which is what I've discovered. It's always
Yes.
going back to the childhood, and the childhood is so dependent upon the environment. So this is like it's a huge project. It's something I want to really make clear. Essentially, anyone who collaborates with me is a co-collaborator in changing the world, changing
Yeah.
in a incredibly impactful way, whether it takes all of my life or into the next one. This is the ground floor of what that's supposed to look like.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
I when I say I'm going to do something, it's not a question. It's like how.
Hmm. Yeah.
How and when.
Hmm.
Not a matter of if, because once I commit to something, that's just what it is. So,
Yeah.
and I like working with people that are the same way. Like when you have a vision for it, oh, it's gonna happen. It's not a question. It's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can definitely appreciate that coming from you, because there's so many people that kind of like talk and say things, but they don't really have a desire to execute.
Yeah. Well, I'm all about execution at this point. I would say
Hmm.
that right now, the top priority is honestly recruitment. And however this relationship evolves, I'm super excited. And one thing I want to make clear to everyone that I work with, like it's all about I'm looking to meet you where you're at, you know? I'm not looking to get you fully involved and immersed in my level of responsibility and, all that stuff. It's like what you want to give to this project is like that's what I want to work with, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did want to do like a mini therapy session with you just to touch base and check levels and stuff like that. That's okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And this would kind of be like a version of what you would probably be doing with the people that I introduce you, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So my whole goal is, and again, this goes to we're looking to tell the ultimate story of human evolution, right? And we're
Hmm.
looking for characters to exist in this world. I'm calling it the Nattyverse. That's like the entertainment, intellectual property of it. But we're looking for people to exist in the Nattyverse that are dedicated to their pursuit of excellence, evolution through mind, body, and spirit. We're going to use me as the perfect example because I'm calling myself player zero. Uh,
Okay.
and as player zero, I have the most intimate knowledge of how this game works. And basically, if you focus on peaking your levels of self-belief, imagination, and focus, you will unlock supernatural abilities with how you interact with the world and the universe at large. And I
Mhm.
have like the prime example of that through leading by example, how I interact with people, how I paint the picture, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
What I want to show within my journey is I'm still not perfect. I'm still learning. I'm still working on myself mentally, spiritually, and physically at all times. And I'm like the top representative of what this future's supposed to look like. And I'm still
Yeah.
evolving, you know? And I'm always looking for issues psychologically or mentally that I can work on so I can it's like the mantra basically is find the flaw and fix the flaw. And there's always a flaw because humans are not designed to be perfect. So I'm not looking to show a perfect person. I'm looking to show
Mhm.
a person who is evolving, which is actually even more exciting than being perfect because
Right.
you're always growing. So I say all that to say over the past couple of weeks since I last met with you, the things that I was working on, ego. I admitted to myself that a lot of this was being born out of a desire for recognition.
Hmm.
And as I became more aware of the oppression and the suffering of others, just in this country alone, let alone like the entire world, I realized like I had a desire to be recognized, and then that desire became kind of overshadowed by the fact that people need help, you know,
Yeah.
and I was able to kind of work through that. Another issue that I've been dealing with is trust, where I've always had an issue with people with being able to trust that a person can accept me and understand who I am and where I'm coming from. And I'm a very out of the box thinker. I don't think uh, I just I believe that I can do whatever I want. And I choose to do good because like you're a human, I'm a human. Why would I want to do harm to another human, you know?
Right.
Um, but that being said, the way that I have promoted myself on social media, I talk the same way that I'm talking to you, but I guess it gets taken out of context on social media. So they just hear like, oh, this guy is grandiose. He wants to take over the world. He's crazy. And long story short, Christina, she's like my lover, partner
Hmm.
person. Long story short, her mother calls her up and, says that she saw a social media post of mine and, she's worried about my mental health. And then her and her mother, they go in like a deep dive with Chat GPT and like assess all these different behaviors that align with like, oh, Shaun's going through a manic episode. And then she has this like sit down with me and goes like, hey, I'm worried about your mental health. I think you should see a therapist. And it was just kind of like devastating. It was devastating because my behaviors haven't changed over the past 2 years. So it's like you're now identifying issues that you think are leading to a manic episode, but I've been completely clear and articulate with what the vision's supposed to look like and what the performance art. Like this is a lot of this is performance art.
What
The,
was the post?
it was something along the lines of I'm preparing to be the leader of the planet. And it was with an executive business coach because I really want to put a very strong emphasis on coaches and therapists. So I want to work with a lot of them. But the person I was talking to was an executive business coach, and I was basically giving her the master plan of how I want to take over the world, and that was the post.
Hmm.
And
And what would that look like if you took over the world?
well, I think it would have to be a coalition. There is a political structure that's referred to as syndicalism, where we would focus on identifying the top leaders and experts in various fields and install them in positions of power representative to the field or area of expertise. And they would be the leaders of the world, um, basically forming a coalition that's not centralized to locations, but more so to professions.
Did they ask you what you meant by take over the world?
No, see, that's what I'm saying. They just saw like, oh, Shaun Fury. I'm worried about his mental health, and it was incredibly offensive because like I've been so open and honest with like what the vision's supposed to look like, and then like you have a conversation with your mom, and you like basically confirm my worst nightmare, which is that you didn't understand a single word that I said over the past 2 years.
Well, or maybe it was the lack of trust that hurt you.
Oh yeah,
Because you just mentioned in the beginning of everything that you just said about how trust was significant to you, which has me go back to a different place of like we were talking about childhood and things like that. I was going to ask you about your attachment. Do you feel like when you attach to people, you feel like your needs are going to be met? Or do you feel like you will be abandoned? Or do you feel like you're going to get mixed combination of like come, go away, come here, that type of thing?
that, yeah, that, yeah. Yeah, because I would consider myself to be a very loyal person. But my loyalty, it's like a person comes into my world, we make a connection, that connection is felt forever for me. And my issue is when you want more from me than like whatever this connection is. You try to like wield it in some way.
Put their expectations on you
Yeah, yeah, and it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue.
or put on you the shoulds, what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
This again is kind of what I talked about when you start separating from that cycle and that isolation period. People don't, when you start stepping outside of the norms in whatever given group, people have to try to humanize you in some kind of way. So to bring them down to a level that they can understand. Not everybody is out here saying, I'm going to go be president. And if they do say they're going to go be president, then it's just like, in my circle and my norm of things, that is totally outside. So something's got to be off here.
Yeah.
So much of the time, we look to try to humanize something that we believe is impossible.
Yeah, and it's I'm so glad that we're touching on this. It's something that I've been running into. I think I'm like turning off women with my ambition. I think it's not even just women, but like I've run into people who I can see it. They're not saying it. One person said it, but like they're getting overwhelmed. And it completely like shuts their brain off and like they have to like run in the opposite direction. And it's just something to be mindful of. understanding that like between you and me, this is definitely a political campaign, but it's one that extends decades instead of like this is not a mad dash for power. This is something that we're looking to cement into the roots of a new society. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're looking to be impactful in a large way. And I think because you can put words to it, it creates a conversation that maybe people don't want to have. Because as soon as you start talking big and people have not exposed that piece of themselves, then it's kind of like you're forcing me into a position because you're so big. Then now I have to reflect on my own. So what's helpful once again is to be around other people that are also thinking big, not in um, a manic, like grandiose way of saying like I am God. Now, if you sat in front of me and said I am God, that would be a different conversation, totally separate from what we're having right now. But to say I want to take over the world or I want to be effective in this way, I just don't think the question was actually asked in terms of what you actually meant by the words that you used. Because
yeah,
what you just explained to me was just like, no, he wants to be effective and an expert in this particular area, and he wants to be effective here. That's what I heard. But maybe the post was like, you want to take over the world? What do you mean take over the world? Like you want to capture people, and that would be something totally different.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think, it just goes to your point. You're the one who's making these perspectives and is capturing, these layers. Whereas,
And then projecting it on you as if you did something, but it's just like, who said that? Did you say that or did I say that? Let's be clear on who is saying what. I used these words, but I was never asked what those words actually meant. And I say this all the time when it comes to speaking to people. Interpretation is important. And if we're not speaking the same language, and what I mean by the same language, language has a lot to do with perspective, what you don't say, what you do say, your tone. If we're not paying attention to the interpretation of the words that are being used, we're always going to be offbeat with each other.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's something that, like I said, it's just something for me to be mindful of, understanding that I do not want to alienate an entire gender. So looking to soften that. But going back to the hurt that was experienced, it's something that I was hoping that, I don't know, because she's apologized and she wants to kind of like pick things up right where they left off and like right back to it. I made a mistake. I'm sorry that I called you crazy. Let's move on from that. But it hurts, and I feel like a little uncomfortable around her. And I don't know. It also feels like how she responded to me is kind of connected to how the world has been responding to me, where like I just make very big brand claims for what I want the future to look like. And it's definitely in line with a harmonious world full of like abundance and prosperity. So like there's nothing evil or nefarious here. I'm just very ambitious. And the way that people and my closest, like, romantic partner, the way everyone's been treating me in response to what I'm saying is hurtful. And I forgive her and I forgive the world, but like I don't know what to do now.
But now, who has the compassion for me? Because it's a weight to carry people's perspective of you and have compassion for them. But it's just like, dang, like how much compassion can I have for other people? And at what point will people have compassion for me? Because I don't think you can help but be as I don't want to say the word big. I don't think you can help your ambition. If it's in you, it's there for a reason. And if people are not thinking on that level, they may not ever understand, which goes back to the isolation. Sometimes you have to be stand on what you know by yourself. And the ones that will see later.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's okay. But for somebody close to you, that's a wound that may take some time. So I would encourage you to do is be honest about seriously how that impacted you. And not just not just on a surface level, but like I really struggle on being the awkward, weird person. I struggle with being peculiar anyway. So that question was really demeaning for me because I struggle in that area anyway. But I know for a fact what I meant and I know what I'm doing. So that wound that I experienced from you, it was significant and it's going to take some time for me to be able to trust that you're actually here for me and you understand who I am because you put me in the position where I'm on the defense like I always am and I don't want to be like that with my partner.
Yeah. 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 And I definitely explain that, but I can tell that she likes to fight for, if she feels like she's losing, then she has to fight harder to like win. And it really has nothing to do with me. It's more of like her personality thing, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah. And it may just take time. Um but also holding on to it doesn't help you. So, not to say that you don't remember, always protect your heart. That's first and foremost. However, um, you have a very detailed um, you have a very detailed plan on where you're going. You have a very detailed vision of where you're going, and you don't want to carry weight to where you're going that you don't have to. Yeah, she did it, and there'll probably be some more people that do it too. But there'll also be the same ones that are looking when you do it that are like, dang,
Yeah.
he was crazy enough to do it.
Mhm.
Like crazy enough to do it. And we call extraordinaires crazy. Like look at all the greats. They were all deemed crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's another thing I wanted to touch on, and you're hitting all the good stuff. I'm really grateful. Um, all right, so all the great ones are called crazy before they do it. And it's definitely something I've been experiencing for I've only started this project. This is not even a 2-year-old project. I've been planning the execution of this project for over 10 years, but the execution has not started for until like, last year, right? So
Mhm.
keeping that in mind, I gotta come clean here. Uh the way that things are moving are so fluid and so smooth, and it's like everything's clicking into place. Just I mean, I spent 10 years planning it, so it makes sense, right? But it's like it's constantly blowing my mind that like things are just like, oh yeah, it's happening. Like you're in it, like you're in the flow. And I've trained myself on how to stay in the flow, right?
Yeah.
And now as a result, it's like every interaction's going exactly as it's supposed to, yada yada yada. And I feel like like the concept of all this is kind of crazy. And to consider like, oh my God, it's going to work out. Like I have 100% certainty that it's going to work out. And for me, it's now just a matter of curiosity to see how much progress do we make in my lifetime. And then more progress will be made after I'm gone. Like that's my only curiosity. It's like I want to see how far we can get while I'm here. And then you guys will keep working. You guys are going to keep on,
Well,
you know?
I think it comes down to planting the seeds.
Oh, 100%.
So it'll go as far as seeds that are planted, and then those seeds will produce more seeds, and it'll really travel
Yeah.
far. And it's so crazy that I'm saying that right now because I just had an image of something else. Neither here nor there. Um, but I think what's really important right now is discussing your process
Mm,
and discussing the what's happening along the way. So as you're interviewing other people, this is also a process for you and what you're going through and how you're changing and battling your own cycles. So, yes, it's about other people, but it's also yours. And people can identify so much with testimony. Like, one thing that we all can relate to is sin. We all relate to pain. We all relate to hard times. That is something that we are all like in alignment with. We know what that's like. So, for somebody to be brave enough to say it out loud, that's where the lack is. Most of us don't process ourselves. We don't really look at why did I do that? What made me think like that? most of us don't have that. That way of thinking is very new.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's happening more often, but especially black men, that's not that's not a norm for us to actually, sit back and like think and try to figure out something different. So what you're doing, yes, it's pertaining to like exercise, getting in shape, all that kind of thing, power building, all that stuff. Like, yeah, but it's also just how do you have a goal and meet the goal given all of these other barriers?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And, connecting with the concept that I feel that most people have been programmed when it comes to really big goals, that's like one in a million chance. It's like you want to be a movie star, you want to be a pop icon, you want to be the next president. Like that's only reserved for a very small amount of people, and it's not you, right? And if we can present the concept that really big dreams do come true, it's just like you got to stop attaching yourself to the time as to when it's supposed to happen and just understand that like my whole thing is about believing in self-fulfilling prophecies. And if you believe a thing, and this is what I have to teach to people, is like, how do I get you to believe in your own self-fulfilling prophecy with like unrelenting certainty? And I'm gonna go inside real quick because we got the whatchamacallits. The
Gardeners?
Yeah, the gardeners. Yeah. Give me one moment.
Yep, all good.
Beautiful. I figured that was gonna happen, but I wanted to get as much sunlight as I could. Okay. Um, what was I saying?
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, yeah. So if I can teach people how to believe in their own self-fulfilling prophecy, it creates an opportunity for people to like just have limitless dreams and know that it's going to come true because I've taught them. I've taught them how to actually make it a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But what you're doing though is you are nurturing a part of them that's been silenced. I feel like you need to write that down.
Oh, it's recording. It's recording.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Nurturing a piece that's been silenced. Because much of the time we have these deep, dark, um, I'm going to say dark in quotations. We have these deep, dark fantasies or thoughts that we don't feel like will ever be executed. And you're actually creating a space where you're like, hey, tell me about that.
Mhm.
Bring it from the depths of you and bring it out. And you have a belief that you can do it. That's
Mhm.
what I do in therapy. That's what makes me a great therapist is that I want to hear the things that you don't say. Like there's so much gold and treasure in that. But somebody somewhere along the line has silenced that piece of you. And I feel like the world does a good job of silencing those authentic, genuine pieces that really need to be exposed.
So can I break down like you're I'm locked in. We're locked in. All right, so I want to break down how I've kind of categorized what the world looks like to me. So far,
Okay.
my purposes and what I want to do with the impact that I leave on the planet, right? I've broken it down in three different categories. You've got people coming into this world wanting to be stars, wanting to be the main character, wanting to be the heroes of their own story. And the visions are there. Like the universe is already telling them exactly what that path is supposed to look like. Fuck, movie star, guy who cures cancer, woman who, breaks the world record in horseback riding. Like the visions are there and like they're discovering it constantly. All right, so that's one, people who want greatness, right? Two, this is like majority, like let's say 90% of the population, just a normal life. Milestones, go to high school, go to college, get married, have a kid, have grandchildren, die, retire, all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's normal life. 90% of the population probably falls in that field. And then finally, the third remaining are broken people who are looking to become whole and healed and then discover if they are in that 90% who just want a normal life and they were robbed of it because of the childhood trauma they experienced due to their environment, or maybe this broken person is a hero, is a main character, is seeking greatness and wants to exist in that experience, but has also been robbed of it. So we have to heal those broken people so that they can decide if they want to be normal or they want to be great. And both are fine. Both are like very accepted. But I'm looking to help the people make their own choice. And perhaps throughout this project, we'll be able to inspire more people who like thought that only normalcy was for them. Maybe we can inspire some of those 90% to go like, you know what? Shaun made it look so easy. So let me just do it.
Well, and I think too, even in what you're mentioning, um, and going back to kind of what you described in the relationship that you're going through, I feel like you can only go as far as the weight on you will allow. So as you move up, as you grow more into yourself, how much weight are you actually carrying with you? I feel like in the last group that you described, there's also like, are you going to carry whatever that hindrance is? Or are you going to drop it? So sometimes we don't move forward because we're carrying the weight of what somebody said. We're carrying the weight of a broken heart. We're carrying the weight of a traumatic situation. And not to say that you're not there for a time, but how long is it going to weigh on you and prevent you from going to the next step? People that have the ability to have things happen and do it anyway, those are likely the people that are successful. And I hate to bring up Donald Trump in this, but even for Trump, like one that has had how many different times filing bankruptcy and all of this, he still moved. He kept moving and kept moving. Yeah, they think I'm an idiot, and I'm still doing this, and I'm still doing this, and I'm still doing this. If somebody like him, as crazy as he may sound, as stupid as he may sound, if somebody like that can be president, that should be really inspiring for the people that are very, very intelligent.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I'm stoked. I'm stoked. I don't want presidency because I what I want to do is more based in entertainment and
Mhm.
kind of creating a story to expose just that like all of politics is just one big story and it's just people vying for power.
Yep.
And what I would like to capture successfully within the multimedia empire that I'm building is that the story is the power and it's not necessarily politics. It's the influence that the story creates in the mind of the collective consciousness, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 Because what I realized too, if you just look at what's happening politically right now, we there's a lot of fear mongering.
Yes.
And when you put fear in place, somebody has to be the bad guy. And we're gonna attack the bad guy. But it's so much more nuanced than just one bad decision.
Hmm.
There's a multitude of bad decisions that take place, but somebody maybe that has a limited perspective is going to look at this is the problem and we have to attack all of these people because this is the problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, we have to come to a place just as a society where we look at things that not as just black and white. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of nuanced pieces at play.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of education that has to occur. And me being the storyteller that I am, I'm really just looking for the most entertaining way. And it doesn't even have to be like blatant. Like we don't have to like hit people over the head with the education. It's just leading by example. Like we are not that far removed from monkeys, you know? So it's monkey see, monkey do. If you're seeing the way that I'm interacting with people and being a leader and leading us to a state or a perspective that is more enlightened, you're seeing that. You don't have to process it on a conscious level because your brain is like doing the work for you.
So with that, I didn't send you this piece. I didn't actually send you my program. I sent you my dissertation. I created a program that's basically 10 sessions. It's meant for families, but this can also be used in teams too. And you really look at how people actually work together. So a family is much like a team, very similar to a team. You have people that are in charge, you have people that are supposed to be listening to the people in charge, you have a functioning that's supposed to be happening on a day-to-day basis, how that system moves together.
Mhm.
Have you ever heard of an Indian run?
Indian run?
Uh-huh. So it's basically, and people may have different names for it. I used to do it a lot in track, where you run in a line, multiple people in a line front to back, and the person in the back runs to the front, and you may do it for like a
Oh,
mile.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the team has to move at a particular pace.
Mhm.
You have to move as slow as as fast as the slowest person,
Yes.
so that you can sprint to the front.
Yep.
So I do that a lot in my families to say, how do you guys compensate for each other? And how do you communicate? A huge piece of that is communication. And you actually measuring your speed based on how everybody else is moving. So if somebody is running too fast and you've left your team members behind, how could you possibly do this run effectively? You can. So
Yeah.
I have them do it the first time and I have them fail. Then I have them come back and I ask, like, so what happened? Who was in charge? Who actually spoke to who? Who communicated? So what went wrong? How can you do it differently? Then I have them do it again and I'll say, how can you align this skills that you just did in this exercise into your everyday life?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's transferable skill. It doesn't just happen in sports. It also is in your day to day. How do you really function with these issues? Because these issues don't just start in this setting. These issues are issues that you probably have throughout your life.
Mm. Yeah. No, I definitely see it, and it's just raising that awareness as to like what the patterns are. I being able to identify them and advising them on how they can actually pivot into new interactions. One thing I want to share with you, and I'm super excited. Like I love how this is going. Um, Inuits, Eskimo Inuits. Have you ever heard of Inuits?
Inuits?
Yeah, so it's a tribe in like it's like an Eskimo tribe in Alaska. And
Uh-huh.
I personally see that like their parenting style in that region of the world is like the future of what society should look like. So at least so far as their parenting style is concerned, where they live in the harshest environment, below freezing temperature, climate is like terrible, right? Life or death kind of situations every day. And they are the most gentlest people, gentle with their neighbors and gentle with their children. Even when a child has a tantrum, they like say, "Oh, why are you acting so silly right now?" Like that's
Hmm.
how they respond to aggression. They diffuse. They do not aim to like focus on a conflict.
Or control.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like Tai Chi, honestly. But I personally see a lot of the issue from my perspective, just from the observations that I've made, is that hurt people, right? So how do we, this takes a long time, but it's like,
Have the perspective of compassion. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, no, no, go with that. Yeah.
The perspective of compassion, I feel like every time an offense happens, we think that they're doing it to us.
Of course,
You're
of
doing
course.
it because of me. It
Yes.
has to be because of me, but we don't ever look at it as like, no, it's really sad if you think about it that this is your perspective. Like, is this how you see things and this is how you lived your life? Like, I'm so sorry, that this has been your process about life. And it's so big in you that you were projecting it on me. Much of the time, we're looking at the offense rather than looking at it clearly of like, what could have possibly happened for you to say that to me? And
Yeah.
looking at it from all angles.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's my so far as storytelling is concerned, I'm definitely steering this whole narrative journey in the direction of an anime. That's what seems to be the most exciting. Oh, love that. Love that. Yeah, it's gonna be a super sick anime called The Natty King. But one of the mantras that I really want to get across is that like I have no enemies, which is taken from a different anime called Vinland Saga. But like
Oh my gosh.
yeah, the philosophical perspective that like I have no enemies and that whenever I come into a conflict with another person, they are not the enemy. It's the belief, it's the idea that propelled them to interact and behave this way.
What's so crazy about what you're saying is that they clown me at work all the time because I come with the impression that everybody likes me. In my head, everybody likes me. So if they give me an attitude or something, it's not because of me. It's like, oh, you must be having a bad day. And I
Exactly.
assume that
Exactly.
it's because of me, which, sometimes it's just like, well, Jamie, didn't you think? And I'm just like, I don't know unless you tell me because I think everybody likes me.
All right, all right. So, ooh, we're hitting something important here. This is very important. Okay, this is all right. The core of what I'm doing, right, is it's fantasy. This is fantasy, right? And I refer often, are you familiar with the book Don Quixote?
Yes, I
Yes.
actually have to read that.
Yes. Okay. So I refer to that story quite often, where in some ways this is a modern retelling of the story of Don Quixote, where I consider myself the future world leader who leads the next era of human peace around the world and shit like that. And like that's what I see for my future. And it's very fantastical. But the thing is that because I believe it, all of my interactions reflect that future. And it's like, okay, what I wanted to talk to you about is I understand that this is healthy. I understand that living inside this delusion, as other people would see it, is healthy. How do we make it clear to people that your fantasy is your truth? And you should like dive as deep into your fantasy as possible because it will save your life. It will lead you out of danger.
I think everything goes into, like I discussed before, interpretation and wording. Maybe people don't like the word fantasy. Maybe they prefer spiritual calling.
Okay.
Maybe they prefer the terminology purpose.
Mm.
You have to figure out whatever that word is because maybe fantasy is too delusional for their ears. So it's really going to take a deep dive into there's a word I want to use for interpretation. We don't want to sound like a clanging cymbal.
Mm-hmm. Oh
We
yeah.
don't just want to make noise. And noise is anything that is against whatever words that they use. So we have to find the audience language. So whatever that language is, and that's going to be hard because everybody's language is different.
Yeah.
But maybe there can be like, I don't know, a word study on like these are the words that coincide with what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I've got that all figured out. Well, the loose versions of it. So if we were to follow Marvel and the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they structure their content where they tailor it to different age groups. So like if they're targeting ages 3 to 6, it's a cartoon where like Iron Man is like little miniaturized and like all the Avengers are miniaturized. It's the same content as the Avengers. It's just formed in like a different thing for the specific target audience. So you mentioned spiritual journey or spiritual pursuit, purpose driven. Purpose driven, honestly, I think that might be my favorite right now because it seems to have the most global or like the most mainstream appeal. It's very easy to
Yeah.
digest, as opposed to following your fantasy. But we would be able to use all different terminology when gearing it to different demographics and things of that nature.
Yeah. I'm here for it. Like everything that you're talking about. When I first got to LA, I wanted to do a reality series where I would go and help families through their issues and concerns. Like I wanted to be that therapist. But as time went on, something strange happened. I used to work alongside, I don't know if you've seen her, Dr. Bryant.
Mm-mm.
She's really big right now in like the conversation room, that traveling group of people that kind of like speak to people's situations.
Okay.
She was on Teen Mom, a couple things like that. And I worked behind her and I had a not so good experience and it kind of deterred me from like going that route because I didn't want to have to sell myself out
Right.
and my own morals and beliefs to be that. I refuse. Like I would rather not do it than to sell myself out or split myself into my own integrity. I don't want to bring my own integrity into question. So I didn't go that route. But this seems a lot um it's just so real and authentic to what all of us struggle with. And I feel like it can be very validating for those people that have those hidden dreams, those hidden goals that somebody has found a way to silence.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I will say that the I didn't know this was going to happen, but what I've seen is that it appears my dreams are a bit too big for people to like really grasp, which is why the Nattyverse needs to be populated with other people with more realistic dreams. But like
So
dreams.
interesting you realize that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's 100% what I've observed. Which is why I want to populate the Nattyverse with like athletes, singers, artists, politicians. I would love to populate this world with politicians, like really, and like everyone who gets to be a part of the world. Like we all have the same core values, you know? Like we're leading by example. That's what the Nattyverse is supposed to be. It's a counterculture, you know?
Yeah,
It's a counterculture. And anyone who wants to exist in that world would have to be down for like the culture that we're building within it.
that part.
Yeah.
Man, I love this.
Mhm.
I really do, genuinely. I feel like it's such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, no, I relate to that. And the thing that I've been coming, oh, and that's what I wanted. Yeah. You're good because you lead me to like the next thing I wanted to touch on. Um, yeah, I was saying I'm super excited about it, and I stayed grounded in the understanding that this is like my life's work. So it's like, again, the curiosity is how far can we make it before I breathe my last breath? So like there really is no stakes for me. There's no concept of like success or failure. It's just how far can you get there? Like, what does it look like by the time like you're about to close your eyes for the last time, you know? But keeping that in mind, the speed and the fluidity of these interactions, sometimes it's like, man, this is nuts, you know? And I've noticed over the past like 3 weeks that I've like kind of been using weed as like a form of self-medication. And I wanted to get your therapeutic perspective on that.
That's a broad question. I think it really goes back to like your demeanor as a person.
Okay.
Um, I think for those who tend to be maybe more scattered in thought
Mhm.
and maybe need assistance and maybe like focusing, sometimes we can be good for those people that really want to focus and
Mhm.
hone in on an idea and really be effective. For other people, if you're using it and to not feel, I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend that. That's more so using it to cope with something. Um, and when I say cope with something, I mean avoid something. So if you're using it for avoidance, I would definitely say no, that's not a good idea. If you're using it to enhance or to be productive and it helps, then I don't see why not.
Okay, that works for me. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
there's some people that are like serial, like I'm gonna smoke when I wake up, I'm gonna smoke middle of the day,
Oh,
and I'm gonna smoke
yeah.
2 times before I go to sleep. Or I'm gonna smoke so that I can eat, or smoke so that I don't eat, whatever that is. And it's just like, how high are you trying to get?
Right.
Like, at
Yeah.
what point are you actually sober minded and in it? Like, really, like in your life?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, like I'm picking up what you're saying. Like do it responsibly.
Pretty
Okay.
much.
Yeah, okay. That
But
works for me. That works for me. Cool, cool.
even the word responsible can, that it may be a loose term depending on what you define as responsible.
Right. That's fair. Well, I really only do it. I've noticed that like I'll take a hit to kind of disassociate myself from the truth of what's happening. Because like sometimes it's like really hard to fully process. Because like my vision is very clear, and being able to talk about it with a bunch of people, and by the time that this is all done, I'll have spoken face to face to thousands of people, as this is one big global network. That's what it's supposed to become. And understanding like I'm in the flow of it, it's sometimes it's just like I think I'll take like a hit of weed to kind of distance myself from the truth. Like you're doing it. You're, sometimes hard to like really comprehend it or something.
Do you feel like it's just like an explosion of energy?
Yeah, yeah, and like the hit of weed will like calm that energy down.
So it's anxiety. but
Oh,
not anxiety from like how do I describe it? The energy is high and the anxiety is high because it's like, oh shit, I'm really fucking doing it. Oh my god. Like in that way, as opposed to like I'm anxious for a negative reason. It's more so like, okay, I'm really, really excited right now and I need to bring myself back down to the ground.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, that's exactly what's been happening. So, but that's chill.
I mean, yeah. I mean I could I don't know how many people get to experience that high of like, man, I'm actually doing what I said I wanted to do. I'm actually in it right now. And to actually be able to feel it. Because a lot of people won't even allow themselves to feel excited about something, which is really sad.
Dude, I like you totally get it, and I'm so dead set on sharing this journey because like I don't care if it's not the universally accepted way to live life. I know it's going to appeal to some people and it's going to change the lives of many, you know?
Well, I feel like if I can speak frankly, I feel like the people that your audience is gonna be the underdogs,
Yeah.
the ones that have been silenced in one way or another. That's who you're gonna be talking to, and they're gonna be able to understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But so we're at 11:55. I want to make sure that you're good. So all right, next things. I would love to introduce Valley to you, just because like he's if I were to like go back to that three person or that three category, he comes from a broken environment and he represents a huge population of people that I'm looking to speak to. And I don't think I can fully represent them since I'm not from that background. I'm not from that environment. So it I don't feel like it's justified or if I would do it justice. So Valley is the representation for his environment. And we want to show his journey of transformation physically, mentally, and spiritually as well. So there's a lot of importance to him healing from his past experiences.
Yeah, I think. Have you talked to Dami?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Dami may be a good one too.
Okay. All right.
Dami isn't always expressive about his story, but Dami has a pretty impressive story too.
I would love to hear it. I only had the opportunity to interview him once, and even during that short time, I definitely have a connection with him. Um, I don't see him as often as I used to, but I see him. Yeah, Dami's dope.
Dami would be a great one to talk to. He's one I talked to quite a bit just about his journey. Um, he would be a perfect person as well. For Valley, because I feel like he may be a little intimidated, especially like hearing like, oh my God, you have me talk to a doctor. Like sometimes the projection of especially a black woman that's a doctor has its own like, what's she gonna say to me? What's it gonna look like? It may
Yeah.
be more helpful if it's like a more chill space, or maybe even meeting at the gym.
I think it's very interesting. Valley, he's such an important piece of this whole thing. Um, Being able to see his growth in the past 2 years that I've known him has been remarkable. And I understand that he has so much further to go. He has the opportunity, just like myself, to evolve over the course of our entire lifetime. So that the person he is today is not the person he is tomorrow or the day after. He's continually to expand, but he's given himself permission to do that, you know? And I see the value of therapy. I see the value of having coaches. And if I can lead Valley to seeing that value as well, then we have something, you know? Then we have an opportunity to share that with others, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, whenever he's ready, I can make the time pretty much. Like, usually I make my own schedule unless something like a crisis happens or something like that. I can make myself available even during the week.
Okay. And then just spitballing here, since we're in the final minutes of it. Um, let's say we can't get Valley's involvement, and understanding that what we're building is a multimedia empire with an emphasis on high quality content. this could be considered content, and I would love to use it as such and post it on social media. But my favorite type of content is more in person, where we actually have the opportunity to like work with videographers and things of that nature to like make it just look you know.
It's so crazy that you're saying that because I was thinking a panel where
Okay,
people
love that.
because where people ask questions. This is
Love
good.
it.
I think it's great, like to start, but I think even a panel discussion,
Love it.
where we're just talking, just like we are right now, but also have people that can ask questions because
Beautiful.
this whole interaction, there's so much meat in it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's way better in person. Like all of this, well, like yeah, all of this is better in person. And the whole thing, and this is an entirely different conversation I'm not going to bore you with right now, but to me, I'm building a video game, and the video game takes place in AR, which is actual reality. So like we all get to cooperate in this video game that's being designed right here, right now. So like I'm on the same page with you. I think a panel will be dope.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm down. I'm so down. I love stuff like this.
Okay. So we'll continue to spitball. I'll talk to Valley. If Valley doesn't pan out that way, then like we will aim to either do a panel or maybe start with like an in-person videography camera setup and then have that translate into a panel.
Perfect.
Love it. Cool. Dope.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm so happy. So, all right, I'll let you go, and we'll continue to correspond.
Yeah, so we'll next time we meet, we'll just schedule a time.
Sounds good.
All
Okay.
right, good talking to you.
Same. Take care.
Bye.